Hello. In today's lesson, we're going to look at dividing polynomials using long division. Now, this concept can be a little bit tricky, and it's definitely a process that you have to get used to. However, if you are comfortable with long division, using integers or numbers, it should be fairly doable. Generally the same process, so we're going to jump right into it. So polynomial long division is similar to the process of integer long division, just like I said. The quotient can have a remainder of 0 or not. So if we have a remainder of 0, just like long division with integers, we just wouldn't write anything down. However, in our first example, you'll see how we would write that remainder. And the way that we do that is we take whatever that remaining number is divided by our divisor. So it ends up looking like another fraction. So if we're going to divide these two polynomials, or this polynomial and the monomial, first thing I got to do is I have to rewrite this. So when you're writing this, everything needs to be in standard form, meaning we have the highest power down to the lowest power. And our process for doing this is looking at that 3x and saying, what would I multiply by in order to get 12x cubed? So we could figure out, well, the number would be 4, and I would need 2 more x's. So we need 4x squared. And you'll notice that I wrote that above the column that has my x squareds in it. From here, we're going to do 4x squared times 3x, and we get 12x cubed. Now I'm going to subtract those, just like we normally would with long division. So we get 0, and I bring down this negative 6x squared. Now, again, I ask myself, if I have 3x, how would I, or what numbers would I multiply in order to get a negative 6x squared? So that missing piece, or the piece that I would multiply by, would be a negative 2x. So if I multiply negative 2x times 3x, we should get negative 6x squared. And again, you'll notice right now both of those are negative, but I haven't subtracted yet. So when I subtract, that's actually going to turn that into a plus. So I have negative 6x squared plus 6x squared, so we get another 0. Drop our 6x down and ask ourselves the same question. If I have 3x, how would I get to 6x? Well, that would be multiply by a positive 2. So I have plus 2. 2 times 3x gives me 6x, and we subtract that, so we get 0. Bring down our 4, so plus 4, and 3x does not go into just 4, so this 4 is our remainder. So the way that we would write this, as I said before, is we would say plus 4 out of 3x. So this would be our answer if we're dividing this polynomial by the monomial, 3x. Okay, so let's move into a little bit trickier one. If we were going to divide this polynomial by a monomial or a binomial. So you'll notice my polynomial is missing one of its terms, plus 2x cubed. So I don't have anything in the x squared column, but I am going to say plus 0x squared as a placeholder, and then I'll put everything in just as it is. And we have x plus 4. Now, if you have a binomial or a trinomial that you're dividing with, we only look at the first term. So I'm only looking at x and saying, what am I missing that would get me to x to the 4th power? So that would just be x to the 3rd power. Now this piece is a little bit different, because before we would just take this number on top and multiply it by that first term, because we only had one. But this time we have to multiply by the x and the plus 4. So we do x cubed times x gives me x to the 4th. And we have x cubed times 4 gives me plus 4x cubed. Now, just like we did before, we have to subtract this. So if I'm subtracting this, I kind of have to distribute that negative to both of those. So we have a negative x to the 4th and a negative 4x cubed. So this will be gone. Now I have 2x cubed minus 4x cubed. So this will be negative 2x cubed. And then we bring this term down, so plus 0x squared. Again, you'll see that this part is for our placeholder. So we say how many, or what would we need to multiply by this x in order to get to negative 2x cubed. So that would be by a negative 2x squared. So I'm going to multiply both of my terms by that. Negative 2x cubed, and then negative 2x squared times 4 would give me negative 8x squared. And again, I subtract this or kind of distribute a negative sign. So this turns into a plus, and this turns into a plus. I'm just going to erase that because we already dealt with it. So this cancels out, and we're left with a 8x squared. We're going to bring down a negative 13x and ask ourselves that same question. What do we multiply by in order to get to that 8x squared? So that would be a positive, I'm actually going to go back to red so everything's in the same color, plus 8x, multiply both of those terms by 8x, so I get 8x squared. 8x times 4 is 32x. Give myself a little more room here. And we have to subtract. So both of those terms will go negative. Again, I'll delete that one outside. These would cancel out. Negative 13x and negative 32x gives me a negative 45x. And I'm going to bring down this negative 24, our last piece. So then if I say, what am I missing? I'm just missing a negative 45. So I need to multiply both terms by that. Negative 45 times 4, that would be negative 180. But we multiply by a negative, distribute that negative, so both of those go positive. This term cancels out. And on this one, we will also have a remainder. It looks like that will be 156. Remember, we write our remainder as a plus 156 out of x plus 4. So that's what your answer would look like on this one. So it's just a very methodical, step-by-step kind of process. Make sure you pay close attention to detail and make sure that you have all of your terms in your polynomial going from largest power to least. I will do one more with you guys, and then I'll leave some for you. So we have 4x to the 4th minus x cubed. Again, I'm missing a squared term, so plus 0x squared minus 11x minus 484. This time we're dealing with a squared term out front. But we do it the exact same way. So how would I go from this to this? That would be multiplying by a 4x squared. So we have 4x squared that we're missing out here. Multiply those together, we get 4x to the 4th, and then multiply that by 11, and you'll see I'm going to drop this over, I'm going to keep everything in line. So that'll be 44x to the second power. Multiply by a negative. So this is negative and this guy's negative. Shoot, that's all right. So this cancels out. Now we have a negative x cubed minus 44x squared, and I still have to bring this term down. So going from x squared to negative x cubed, we're missing a negative x. So I'm going to multiply both of those by that. So then we do negative x cubed and keep everything in line. So negative x times 11, so we get negative 11x. Switch our signs because we have to subtract, so that turns into a plus, that turns into a plus. Now you can see here, both of those cancel out. We're left with this negative 44x squared term. Notice I didn't do anything with that before. I just kind of left it, and my problem is working around that. So last, I say, what am I missing here? I have x squared and I want it negative 44x, so I'm missing a negative 44. So I'm going to multiply both terms by that. And if I do negative 44 times 11, 4 times 4, 4 times 4, add a 0. Look at that. We get negative 484. So minus 484. And then it's a negative, so those need to switch signs, plus, plus. And for this problem will be our first one that does not have a remainder. So this is simply our answer, 4x squared minus x minus 44. Now, your next one, testing if one polynomial is a factor of another. If you're testing that something is a factor, you're still using long division. So I want you guys to try this one out. So I want you to pause the video and get these numbers added into your notes. I want you to try this next one out. So both problems in example 4. So you're testing, I'll get them set up with you. So we just rewrite, we have x cubed, x squared minus 7x plus 6, and x plus 2. That would be our setup here. And for the next one, lots of 6s. That's our setup on this one. So we don't have to put in any 0 terms since those both had everything in descending order. Here are your homework problems and page. If you have questions, make sure you send me an email or see me in class. Thank you guys. Hope you have a great day.